I wanted to take a minute today at the beginning of the podcast and say thank you to our sponsor, Huber Engineered Woods. Huber has actually been a sponsor of the podcast since 2020 when we decided to start this little endeavor. Without our sponsors, this content is probably not something that happens. But I think the best part about having Huber as a partner on this is it's an incredibly authentic alignment. Peter, Steve, and I all use Huber Woods. I've been using Advantech Subfloor for coming on probably 21 years now. I've been using Zip System and Zip System with the insulation on the back, the Zip R, since 2013. It's a system that I believe in. It's that systems approach where things play well together. They have design parameters that allow you to use their system for what you're working on. It works. Their tech support's there. Their knowledge is there. I've never had an issue with their product, and it's a great thing that they've decided to sponsor the podcast. So thank you, Huber Engineered Woods.
This episode of the Unbuild It podcast is brought to you by Arkland Firepoint. Yes, Arkland Firepoint is a structural sheathing panel that has patented intumescent technology. Yes, that technology carries a Class A flame spread rating, and it's also rated for 1 and 2 hour building assemblies. Not only that, but it also is more than 50% beyond what the code requires for fire resistance. Yes, for more information, head on over to firepoint.arkland.com.
I'm Jake Bruton, and welcome to the Unbuild It podcast. Today, I am joined by my usual co-host. That's Peter Yost.
Hi, Jake.
And Steve Basic.
Good morning, America.
It's not morning, and we're global.
I don't know. I just felt like yelling.
Okay.
I'm glad you got that out of you.
I did.
Now you can turn your volume back up to a normal level. Sorry, we didn't warn you that was coming. Today's topic is one that we've gotten quite a few questions on, and frankly, I get emails through my Aero Building website that don't have anything to do with the podcast. I think we all get this question. I know you, Peter, get this question because you deal with consulting nationwide. Yeah. And it's a problem that is a big one. So I'm going to say, I'm not going to read the specific question that I have written down here. I'm going to say, Marshall, thank you for your question. And it's, I want to build a better performing home, or a high performance home is what Marshall actually mentions. And I can't find anybody in my market, or how do I go about finding someone in my market to be part of this team? And so while we all emailed Marshall back and had suggestions, like, let's talk about, well, where do you want to start, Steve? Do we want to start by talking about what?
I'm going to start with demographics.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You've got my attention.
So I'm trying to think, if we took the whole U.S. and looked at it and said, all right, we're building a new house here of good performance. Let's just say the house cost $1 million. I know some of you are, we don't build $1 million, whatever. But is there a place in America that within, say, 60 miles, there is not another $1 million house or a builder capable of building $1 million house?
If there are, there's very few.
Right.
Very rural, very few.
So we can understand that pretty much across the country, there's people doing it. It's a question of how do we find them, right? But they're doing at least luxury homes. Let's drop the performance status. Luxury homes. And they have good framers and such.
Somebody with money is building a house.
Somebody with money is building a house. So,
and I had somebody argue with me on that recently, and I said, BS. There's a physician in your market. There's a
lawyer,
insurance agent in your market. Like every State Farm agent makes decent money. Every person that runs an Edward Jones office makes decent money. Like, there are people in your market that
accountants, lawyers.
Even if you think that there's not, chances are there is.
And I use $1 million as an arbitrary number, but there's people building luxury homes in those markets if they're building them less expensive. So then the question that I always tell homeowners is when they say, well, are we going to be able to find a high performance builder around here? Well, the first thing is, let's stop thinking about it as high performance, because all of my details that I've ever drawn, the builder's still being asked to use a saw. He's still being asked to use a nail gun, right? I'm sure he can roll out some tape and apply pressure to it. Like, there's not a lot of things when you break it down that we're doing that builders haven't done. So it's trying to understand the perspective of, hey, let's not be afraid to just slow down a little. Like, we're doing this one project, perfect wall. Builders like hasn't even done an Energy Star home, right? And he was worried. And I was like, there's nothing.
He being the client?
The builder.
The builder.
Yes. He's like, I'm like, have you know how to use a table saw, skill saw, nail gun? He's like, yeah. I said, then we'll just pay attention to the details. We're just going to have a little bit more conscious effort, add 2 weeks to the building schedule as kind of a slush fund for you to think and learn. Right. And the homeowner was good. The homeowner is like, loves the builder, loves the team, and is like, yeah, whatever it takes to build a good house for me, like adding 2 weeks to the schedule, paying that contractor another $4,000 on a $1.2 million home is like, that's just, I'm going to get the house I want. Right. So it's real for me. It's about perspective and understanding. Like, we really need to, I hate the idea of high performance, because even the stuff that we do with high performance, it's more elevated performance. It's just a series of decisions that are a little further down the line. For me,
I don't agree with you on this. I think you knew that, but because you were the architect on that project, you had a builder who said, I've never done that before, but I'm sure willing to learn. I have clients that don't have Steve Basic as the architect and can't find a builder that doesn't go, whoa, I'm going to double my budget for you because of that.
Understood. But to that, what I would say is, and we've had this conversation, right? Somebody has to drive the bus.
Yep.
Like,
Okay.
Everybody can't get on and sit back there.
Yep.
Because the bus doesn't go anywhere. So somebody has to figure it out. So someone on the team has to be somewhat knowledgeable, whether it's the architect or the builder. I don't think it's a problem if the architect designs a pretty house and then the builder says, hey, we're going to elevate these details. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to worry about air tightness here, because it's not going to challenge the aesthetics maybe that were set out. So, but somebody does have to have the knowledge. You can't be a homeowner saying, I want to build this house, and nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
Right.
So there is somebody that has to be there. But, there's also a lot of information out there. Like, it's really not
easily acceptable.
It's not hard to understand what it takes to make a decently airtight house. Now, are you going to do a 0.3? Maybe not. But if I could take that airtightness from 5 to 2.5, that's a huge step.
But I get, Steve, clients all the time that just say, I can't find someone who can separate the wheat from the chaff on the internet. And they're totally baffled with anything other than what they've built before, which is either 2x4 by 2x4 or 2x6 16-ohm center, and no exterior insulation, no double walls. It's so the question is, and I have 3 clients right now that consider themselves to be in a elevated performance or high performance desert. They can't find anybody that's willing to talk with them about, even when they say, hey, I'm talking about this type of house that Steve Basic has designed, or this house that Jake Bruton has built. And all they are is even more intimidated to try to think that they could tackle those topics.
Right. But see, I think part of that, though, is the perspective. Like, there's the builder that I'm talking about. He's a really good builder. He's one of the most conscientious tradespeople I've ever met. Mm-hmm. Right. And he just felt like he didn't know, but he does know. And I think part of it is we put that stupid label of high performance on it. And now it looks like a mountain to these guys.
Interesting. So, it's the perception of what that means.
Intimidation factor.
It's a huge intimidation. Like, oh, I can't, like, getting to passive house air tightness is some silver magic bullet. It isn't. It's a very conscious effort to detailing the house and understanding, right?
I want to go back to what you said about building in like 2 weeks, because I hadn't thought about that before, but that sort of takes everybody a little bit off the hook. Like, we know it's going to take you longer. If we ask you to do something different than what you've done a zillion times, and you probably learned it from your dad, and we're going to have you change from that, that's going to take some.
Well, I think the whole team needs to understand, including the client, right? And I've had these conversations with clients. It's like, Johnny, the builder here, he's never done that. Like, you have to accept the fact that things might take a little longer, and we can't put all the onus on Johnny, because you're asking him to do something different. So Johnny needs to add in that slush fund. And sometimes, I mean, we had a project where the builder just put a contingency on the framing number and said, if we need it, we'll use it. So the homeowner understood, okay, this money's in the contract,
right?
But we might not use it.
Right.
And I might get most of that back.
Yeah, that's a lot less scary.
But it's there. Yeah. But what you've done is you've relieved that pressure from the builder, because the builder's not sitting there saying, oh, I mean, I still have to deliver this house in 6 months, but now they want this air tightness, all this exterior insulation. They want this, they want that. Yeah. I got to roll out all this tape. And, not to beat up on builders, but, they always, Steve, putting that bead of sealant down, that's going to take extra time. Rolling that tape is going to extra time. You know how many times I've walked out on a job site and seen like two guys over there sitting, having a cigarette, laughing and joking, while one guy's yelling up numbers or down numbers to somebody cutting, right? So I never want to hear about, like, there's a few job sites I've been to that are like ultra efficient. Everybody's moving. Yeah. It's like an ant farm, right? But it's pretty rare.
Thank you for that compliment.
It's pretty rare.
Ants are amazing at what they get done.
Yes, but I think it's on everybody. If you're the homeowner and you're asking for a little bit more, you need to be an architect that's a little more receptive and say, you know what, I've never done that, but let me look into it and figure out how we can detail that. Let me work with the builder and understand how we can do a better air barrier. We need to stop with all of this BS, and I'm not talking building science, about, well, I can't do that. That's just way too hard. Those guys can do it. They make it look easy, but it isn't that.
I'm working with a couple of clients right now where the builder is the person who brought me into the project. They've watched an awful lot of videos and they've done a lot of reading. They don't want me. They want me as a backstop. It's like, I'm pretty sure I know how to solve the problem in this house, but I do not want to be wrong. So I get pulled in sometimes for just a couple of hours to be the reassurance to the building professional. So it's not just that somebody's driving the bus. It's like, I'm on a driver's permit. I would like to have somebody looking over my shoulder as I learn how to stop at all the, So sometimes my job is limited. Sometimes I come in and out of projects, and it's all because they want a backstop. So
when you get this email from folks, what's the first place that you start to point people?
At myself. I mean, I tell them, hey, this is what I do. Here's what it's going to cost. And it is very different if it's an area where I know from prior experience that it's going to be hard to find somebody. It's happened to me in Houston a half a dozen times where I just do not know who to recommend them to go to. And I have one client right now in the Midwest. He's a super smart guy. They want to build their own house. Multiple chemical sensitivities for both in the couple, both, professionals. And he said, I want to hire you as the backstop for like 10 months because I'm going to go and find a builder, but you're going to interview the builder, all these steps that this person is taking so that I'm looking over the shoulder. Now, that's not my typical client, but I am getting a few now and then that want to retain me through an extended period. And interestingly, about halfway through this current project, let's say we're 6 months in, the client says to me, he says, do you think there's a lot of other people out there like us? And I said, oh, I know there is. He goes, do you think I could make this into like a job? Like, because I'm a homeowner, but I'm learning how to build a house using somebody like you. Like maybe I would be a lot less intimidating than having, you on the project. And I said, I have no idea whether that's a business model or not.
Steve, if you didn't know Peter and the clients were like, hey, Peter is going to interview you and tell us whether or not you're going to be a good fit, would you go, pass?
No, I trust Peter. I trust Peter. I mean, there are some resources like for us. If I'm in an area, one of the things I do is I find out like who's the Huber rep out there, right? Yeah. Find out who the Huber rep is, or it can be any rep. I mean, I use Huber because I have, knowledge of them and I can get who it is. But then I'll call out to, Kelly in Idaho and say, hey, Kelly, we're building a house in this town. Like, who are some good builders there? Yeah. And who should we, like, give me 2 lists. Give me the 3 names that I should talk to. Give me the 2 names that I shouldn't
go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't talk to. But you could do the same with building inspectors, right? You could go to the building inspector there and say, if you were building a house here, who would be the builder you'd want to build the house?
What's neat about these questions you're asking, I wrote a blog for my website that was how to interview a building professional. And I just made up a list of questions that you could ask. But I guess when I review this, I can write them down to add to that list. And I even, when I posted the blog, said, this is just a starter list. Send me an email through my website about another question that you should ask. And what was the last one you just said?
Building inspector.
Go to the building inspector and ask them.
Building inspector knows who's the guy that I like walk in and say, damn, great framing job, Jimmy. Or, oh my God, here we go again.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They know who those guys are. I know I can go to our local building inspector and he would be able to list all the guys like these guys shouldn't even be allowed to operate. And then these are the guys I would want to build my house or gals, whatever.
On this one project in Mattapan, actually, the interesting thing is that the builder is using this as an opportunity to up his game. So he's bought in. Like if I say, hey, you're going to have to go crawl through that attic a second time to get more answers. And I said, you're probably not happy to hear me say that. He goes, I'm learning so much. I'm really happy to go back up into that attic because I'm going to look at it differently than I did the first time through.
So I'll throw this out there. This job that we're doing where we're the perfect wall insulation, et cetera, we're using a blown Rockwool, right? So they talked to an insulator about 60 miles away that was supposed to do the job. And then for whatever reason.
Real quick before you get into this, a lot of our listeners probably don't know that you can blow Rockwool again.
Yes.
American Rockwool is back in business.
Rockwool is back in business. I actually went to their factory yesterday and saw it getting made.
So for a long time, they were the only way to do it. And now they are back. So
they are
you guys
back.
know.
But to be clear, we're talking about not bats and not rigid. This is a third.
It's a blown. It's a blown.
And its advantages are
mold resistant, moisture resistant, pest resistant, really good sound control.
Not a lot of dust.
It's higher R value.
Very little compression.
Fire resistant. Yeah.
It's a really interesting product.
And it's not Rockwool, the company that makes
American
like comfort bat,
Rockwool.
And it is the company called American Rockwool.
And neither of them are sponsors of this podcast.
Neither of them are sponsors, but we're about giving the right information. Anyways, you're going to really appreciate this story. So the builder, being at first apprehensive about doing this project, because it's a wall assembly that's a little out of the ordinary. But he said, you know what? I was just talking to him the other day before I came here. He said, you know what? He goes, I don't think I'm going to use that insulator. I'm like, well, what are we going to do? He goes, I'm going to buy the machine. And he goes, they're not that expensive. I forget what he said. It was like $5,000 or something. And he says, I'll consider it an investment for me because a lot of times I have to wait on these guys or whatever and do this. And I think I'll probably do a better job. I'll be a little more conscious than our insulator because the insulator's out to make money. He's out to do a good job. There's a different perspective there. Now, I'm not saying he's giving stuff away for free.
Right.
But their perspective is different.
He's more invested in the outcome.
But here's the part you're really going to like. After talking to him, I was talking with the homeowner for another reason. And I said, hey, Josh is, potentially, he's like, yeah, I already had a talk with him. I'm going to buy half the machine for him because I know Josh really wants to do a good job on my house. And I want to be part of that investment for him.
That's awesome. Super cool.
Right. So here it is. This is what
everybody's buying in.
Everybody's buying in to a really good solution.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not all about like how trim can we make that budget.
Good clients make the world a difference.
I want to make this point too, that I can't tell you the number of projects that are making progress they wouldn't if cell phones weren't excellent cameras and video recording. I think back to even 10 years ago. I'm working on so many projects where I don't even have to go to the job site because the person there is taking a video and talking as they're taking the video. And it's irreplaceable because whoa, go back. What the hell was that? It's just completely changed.
Or if they have a question. Or if people are like, how do you do these projects so far away? How hard is it? Like the first line of defense, he takes a photo, sends it to me, we jump on a call.
Yeah.
If that doesn't solve for it, we'll do a Zoom call.
Yep.
And I'll draw a detail. Like it's really not.
I'm smiling because one of my carpenters always, my phone rings and then he goes, did you get the picture I sent you? And I'm like, no. And then it would be like, ding. And it's like, dude, you got to send the picture and then wait 10 minutes so that I can look at it, have time to figure out what I'm looking at and then call. And it's like, I realize that you're standing there waiting for a response, but he always like sends it and then presses call.
Which, by the way, we should encourage our people who submit questions. You can attach a video or a image.
Image probably better in an email because it's hard to get video to go through.
True.
But
that's true. Yeah.
I do the same thing. I send people to Huber Rep, by the way. And it's not because Huber's the only way Huber is a sponsor of the podcast.
But they have a blanketed representation across the country.
Yeah.
Like there's probably not a place I can go to in the country that doesn't have a Huber rep walking through there at some point in time.
Yeah. And I know half of their reps, it feels like, from us traveling and speaking across the country. And I can go, do you know anybody? Or I do the same thing. Do you know anybody that I need to make sure that they don't work
that with? I avoid?
I did quick math here. I know I interrupted you. One of the other things that always comes up is like, when you're trying to bring new people on board with the idea of building a better home, building like, say, you and I do together, the cost aspect of it. And we've come to say that like we're talking over a competitive level custom home, all the add-ons that we do to make things more comfortable, more energy efficient, more durable. I think we're less than 5% on a price.
I think so too.
And so like at $1 million, we're only talking 50K. And that's 50K of health, comfort, lack of warranty issues and durability. Like I think it's the best 50K that you're going to put into that house.
And we all know builders. I could probably list 24 builders that build houses for $700,000 a square foot that don't have durability issues and such, which I think
that
is criminal.
Durability issues.
Yeah, that do have durability issues or water. Man, they don't even do kick out flashing, the real simple low hanging fruit. They have no interest in doing, but they're still charging $1,000 a square foot.
How often or how important do you think it is? I'm thinking of two clients where one of my first recommendations was do not build a geometrically complex house. If you want there to be a greater chance of success for moving builders and the architect up a grade or two, don't put unnecessary stress on by having a crazy butt design.
Yeah, definitely.
If it doesn't work on
perspective too. And the client perspective, it's funny because there's probably not a whole lot of middle ground there. Like I have clients that want to muddy the water. Like, can we put some dormers? The roof looks like boring. Can we put some dormers up there? Can we do this? Can we do that? And then I have the client that's like, No, we don't want anything up there. Like, I want this thing to be as maintenance free as possible. Can we make the overhangs, instead of making them 18, can we make them 30 inches? Like, so I don't have any issues. Right. And stuff like that. So it's like, you know, trying to figure out who that client is on day one is certainly a challenge, but they're both out there.
Have you lost projects because the client said, I'm paying for an architect, I want more pizzazz, or, you know what I mean? Have you ever?
Pizzazz.
Pizzazz.
Should be a soft ass pizzazz.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I lost them because we might not get in there. I've had some people like question, like, wow, those look like pretty simple. And I'm like, yeah, because you know what? They're still going to look good in 50 years. That house that has the 3 dormers across the roof, look at that house in 5 or 10 years. The corners of the dormer are starting to get soft and start rotting and all this stuff, unless, of course, you're using like AZEK or something like that. But my point is all of those things contribute to maintenance and degradation. The more stuff I put, the more degradation I'm going to have. So if I don't put anything on the roof, guess what? I don't have any degradation. It's kind of like windows leaking. If I don't let them see water, the window can't leak. Well, if I don't put stupid shit on the roof,
if you're starving it,
then the durability aspect goes really high. But the idea is, how do we design that into it? And I'll tell you, I'll go to my grave saying the hardest thing it is for clients to do is be simple. I have never met one that hasn't challenged that concept. Because people say, well, we're not fancy, we're real simple. I'm like, remember you said that.
I will tell you that Susan and Brian,
they were pretty simple.
We're pretty darn close to
pretty about as simple. They were probably one of the best examples
and they were probably the best listeners we've ever worked with as well.
And that house looks good, performs good. You could go there now 8 years later, and it looks like we just turned it over to them a year ago.
I don't know.
Slab house.
I thought you were talking about that house. Yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things. And the thing is, I think, honestly, the knowledge of the architect is inversely proportional to the complexity of the design. Right? Like,
I've always thought that, but
yes. Yeah. Like the one that builds the most complex crap or designs the most complex crap says, well, the builder will figure that out. I don't have to. Yeah. And it's horrible.
Yeah. You know, that house up on Stratton Mountain that I'm dealing with that has it is the most geometric complex building I've ever seen, single family residence. And everybody is paying through the nose because of that, except the person who designed it.
Yeah.
Architects don't have to carry the warranty.
No.
They carry the worry. Maybe they don't carry the worry or the warranty.
Yeah. It's baffling.
We kind of glazed over the idea that, like you mentioned it at the beginning, that someone has to drive the bus. Having a really good architect on board will help the builder be better as well. Like, yes, I'm in the field and I have to execute it, but having a really good design in place with really good notes and really good scope of work involved in that is a really great aspect. Yes, having a good consultant on board guiding things is just as good, but having a really good set of plans, like the first time that we worked with Steve, having that institutional knowledge on his set of plans made our life a heck of a lot easier. We went from just building
and eliminates a bunch of fear. Like, this really isn't that hard.
I mean, Susan and Brian's house is the first one that you and I did together. It's net zero plus. They drive a car off of it. They have a 10 kW solar system for a 2,600 square foot
and
house.
No concrete in the slab, which would scare the hell out of a lot of contractors.
I have probably told this story before, but stop me if I have. But I was I was doing a 2-day building science training for the AIA of New Hampshire, and the president was an architect, and he was the one who had set up this training. And about 10:30 of the second day, I said, okay, now we're going to do is we're going to break into groups, and we're going to take a set of plans. You know, so many of you volunteered that, and you're going to work through the control layers, and then you'll report back. And what we're looking for is something that you currently do that's right, something that you just learned you need to do differently. And the third thing is, I have no frickin' idea if this is a problem or if it is, how I should change it. We get about an hour and a half into it, we break for lunch. And this guy, as we come back from lunch, stands up. He goes, "I'm done with this. This is crazy. All you've taught me is what not to do. I'm petrified." And
was he a builder? Or?
He was an architect.
Oh, okay.
They were, I think, pretty much all architects in the room. So the architect who had hired me said, "No, you're acting as if this is a problem and something to be afraid of rather than opportunity." And the guy said, "Opportunity? All you've done is made me worry about all the past projects." And so the guy who hired me, the president of AI, said, "I'm going to hire Peter to go back and do building assessments on at least 8 of my current projects in the last 10 years. And the guy jumps up and says, "That's suicide. Like you're opening up a can of worms." And the architect who was the president said, "There is already a can of worms. He said, "How are you going to be able to sleep at night?" The original architect, and the guy very goes, "How are you going to be able to sleep at night if you don't understand what's going on?"
Wrong.
So the interesting thing about that is we went to 6 of his projects, and the architect who said you're crazy said it's going to ruin your business. After he went to those 6 houses, he got like 12 more projects because those people went, "Hey, I have an architect that just came back unbidden to see how my house is doing." And the other thing about this is that architect over the years uses me less and less and less, because the number of times he needs so he's developed in-house what he used to bring in as a consultant. Mm-hmm. And that's true for, most of the work I do. And, even those for clients, it's like, I'm just looking for a way to sort of make myself obsolete on this.
But there's enough first-time work for you.
There is.
I have a question for you, though, that I could be asking myself. Have you ever had a conflict with the art? So you get hired to do the building enclosure, et cetera, and then you propose some things. Have you ever had an architect say, "I ain't doing that, that's stupid," or get in a pissing contest with you, just saying, "I think this is overkill. I think you're worried way too much. We don't build like that here."
You're wasting everybody's time.
Those?
Yeah. So when I first started consulting, this was my nightmare, that I would have somebody challenge me to the mat. And the answer now is, I don't really care anymore. It's like when you're at the beginning of your career, and for me, going to be a consultant was in 2019. That's what I was afraid of. Now it's just like, okay, I know what I do. I know why the client hired me. This is your problem, not my problem.
Yeah, you work it out with the client.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't agree with me, okay. But if you're not bringing logic to the game.
So the reason I ask is we probably get, I would say over the course of the week, we probably get 3 or 4 inquiries that go something like, "Steve, we had an architect, drop our dream house, but we need somebody to draw the details because they don't have any clue. We want to do some air tightness. We don't want passive house, but we want to do air tightness and make sure that the details are right."
Yeah, that must make your head explode.
And I tell them, and what I tell them, the bus comment, I'd say, "Listen, if I'm not driving the bus, I don't get on it." And they said, "Well, we'll allow you to do the details." I said, "Yeah, but I'm not interested if there's another architect, because I have done that before. And then you get a little pushback. And now the homeowner is strapped between the two of us. And it's like, who do I believe? What should I do? Steve's doing this and says we should do that, but that's going to cost a lot more money." They don't want that. Yeah, but they don't want to build it the right way either.
And I think the other part of this is that life is too short to work with people that you don't respect or like. Yeah. So in my case, if I see a train wreck coming down because of either the architect or the client, this is like.
Well, you're going to love how I end the conversation, because I tell the homeowner, I said, "I'm really not interested in doing that because it's actually a bad business model. I actually want the house to get built and fail miserably and that architect go out of business. With all due respect to you getting a good product, I hope that it isn't." And then conversation kind of ends.
Sales pitch. What a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I just want to say that I think getting a more robust here's how to talk to here's how to interview a building professional. Because a lot of people who are interested in elevating the performance of the buildings that they're renovating or having built, they don't even know how to start the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's
that's on my list to do. Actually, I was going to do some videos for either my Fridays on the Build Show or my YouTube channel of what is the conversation with your builder? What is the conversation with your architect? And what, how should you have that? And it's just my perspective. I mean, I know we agree on a lot of those things, but I want to tell you about the other day. I was babysitting my grandson. I caught the little stinker chewing on a wire, like electric wire. I'm like, what are you doing? So I grounded him. But here's the thing. Currently, he's doing well.
That was a high five. If you're just watching, Peter just high five.
Currently.
He's encouraging.
That had a triple joke in it. That's cool.
That's a bonus dad joke.
On that note, thank you for listening today. Have a good day.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.